Hello, I'm Art Radtke, the publisher for The Informed Entrepreneur. And today we have with us Eric Brown, the owner of Fulfilltopia and Mobile One Courier. Welcome, Eric.
Thanks.
Eric, we're having a series talking about what is happening out there in the real world of business ownership, which is always interesting and exciting. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And before we get started, I would love everyone to know, just briefly, what your business is and what you do.
Back in 1996, I started a same-day courier service, and we started providing legal courier services, then diversified in other areas. And about 7 years ago, we started storing computer parts for servers and phone systems and ATMs for replacement parts when something goes down, and we would deliver those. And out of that, about 3 years ago, we found ourselves shipping a lot of those parts, and that's how we got into the order fulfillment business for e-commerce. So that's what we do today. We have about 60 staff of 60. We operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's primarily what we do now. So we do both the courier service and then the order fulfillment business today. So
wonderful. So all right, and I do know you also have made the Inc. 5000 list. Is that
thanks.
Yeah, congratulations. That's I know a lot of business people. That's a milestone that quite often they're shooting for. So
thank you.
That is excellent. Eric, one of the things is in today's economy, everything has become very sensitive about price, and obviously you're running a fairly complex operation in that you have cars on the road and you have the dispatches and everything else. How have you attacked that problem in today's economy of price?
Well, I think back in 2008, when the economy really started to decline, and there's this reaction. We got to lower our prices. We got to be competitive, and I think for a lot of businesses for the last 4 or 5 years have tried to work within that model, but you're finding today a lot of businesses can't sustain that anymore. And so to have a long-term sustainable business, you have to be profitable. And so, you take that mix of having to be profitable, be sustainable, and if you're just competing about price all the time, it's not really exciting. You always have a hard time to pay the right people, the right resources to take care of the clients. And so your service ends up suffering when you're competing on price because of those issues I just talked about. So I was thinking, and how can we compete, but be profitable and really offer great service? So that becomes really the value versus price model. And so often we're always looking at what the cost is, but people really don't always think what the value is. And I'll give you an example. When you look for a courier service, people think in terms of how much does it cost to deliver from point A to point B, but they never talk about the process behind the scenes in terms of vetting out the right kind of drivers, the training, what kind of systems does the courier company have to track the delivery itself, and then those other costs, or what kind of insurance does the courier company have. And the same thing applies with the order fulfillment business, is what kind of systems, what kind of accuracy, how do you take care of the client? Because at the end of the day, it's not what you pay, it's what you receive for it. And so oftentimes people are not, they really don't care about the price, they care what they get for it. And you have to ask the deeper question is, what am I really looking for? Now, there's people out there cheaper than myself, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to get something delivered, if you can't get done right, the cost doesn't really matter. Right. So you have to start having a basis of what the value of things are, not what the cost are. And so what things we've done is we try not to be jack of all, master of none, because we've done that. And a lot of businesses today try to be a jack of all trades, and they go like this,
yes.
And they dilute their resources. And so what we're trying to do is kind of narrow our focus so that we are more specialized. And so then being more specialized, then you can create those value-added services that business will come to you because of the value and the service level you're providing. Because a lot of people are not, when people make decisions about working with a company, they're typically an emotional decision. When you buy Apple versus Dell, it's an emotional decision about what can you do for me? How is this going to help my business, or how's this is going to help me? And so what we try to focus more on niche things. And another thing is, I'd rather be in a blue ocean versus a red ocean. A red ocean is a very competitive place where it's really bloody. It's always about price. There's a lot of competitors out there. In a blue ocean, there's not a whole lot of competitors. You kind of create a new level of service, or create a different expectation from the customer or the consumer. Repackage or redefine your industry. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're also talking maybe about the real cost in comparison to the stated cost. And what I mean by that is, take the fulfillment business. There's the cost of how much the company is going to be charged for the receiving of that order, the picking of the order, packing it, and shipping it.
Right.
But what's not calculated in there is if you're having to handle 20% returns instead of 5% returns because of the job being done right.
Right.
That quite often the one that seems to be the lowest price actually becomes a much higher price over time.
Right.
And that it's better to start it off funded correctly so the costs don't run up. Is that part of the concept?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny is when you have when you're looking for a vendor, whether it be a courier, fulfillment, doesn't matter. You tend to get two pieces of paper or two proposals, and then you tend to think, okay, this guy's this much, this guy's this much. But you start to look behind the scenes, like you talked about, is having those processes in place. Are they going to be able to handle the businesses and do it well? So yeah, you're absolutely right, because it's all about what you get for.
That's right, because ultimately the best value will be the best price for a company.
Right.
It may just not be as obvious on that piece of paper at the beginning of the proposal.
Right.
All right. Is there any examples that you can give that people would be able to relate to that maybe not have to do with your industry, but one that people could grab?
In the courier industry, I'll give you an example. When you think of delivery, you don't think in terms of quality control. And I'll give you an example of quality control. We audit our drivers, do spot audits. So you don't think about how many times does a courier company, the driver actually leave their vehicle unlocked, or is the vehicle not organized, is a mess in the car, or so if your package is in their vehicle, the vehicle is locked. It sounds crazy, but we actually spot audit our drivers. We check for that. We actually check their accuracy. We actually certify. We medically train them, or we train them. We certify them. So, where competitors typically don't certify or properly train them, so they're making a lot of mistakes. They're unsecure vehicles. Well, there's a cost for us to manage that process, which you never really see.
Right.
Or we have dedicated resources of people to manage the account, where people are checking in on how are things going. Our competitors, you may hear from them once in a while. Maybe only hear from them when there's a problem.
Right.
And in the fulfillment business, we typically like to make the experience of your because we're in e-commerce fulfillment, we're picking, packing, shipping your product. When you're looking for a fulfillment company, you never think of how does that package look on the receiving end, and it's your final touch point to your client. And you're thinking about pricing for fulfillment. This guy's shipping this. Well, we think about that. We survey your customers with your permissions. How are we doing?
Right.
But it's brand free. So that's the kind of the value that you get. Oftentimes your fulfillment company can be a way of enhancing the value to your customer and then growing your business. Because if that experience is good, you may get repeat sales, or people will talk about, hey, I really enjoyed that receiving the package. It was on time. It was accurate. It was packaged well. So there's those little inherent things you don't think about to drive the value, that it can actually grow your business by having a better vendor, a better partner in the courier or fulfillment world.
All right. So what I think of when you say that is that is that when you purchase a service,
Right.
it can really be delivered two ways. It can be delivered as if it is a company that you are hiring to do it, or it can become like part of your company where your interests are the same, and everyone with the e-commerce business in this case and the fulfillment business are both thinking, how do we end up with more orders? How do we end up with a better e-commerce company?
Right.
You're operating almost like a division of that e-commerce company rather than as a third party.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our perspective is we are a part of their business, and we are representing our client's business when we're making a delivery or when we're pick packing a package. That's how we view it, that relationship, because our client's business is only as good as what we're doing for them. And so we inherently can affect their business either negatively or positively. So we think in terms of that, like we think like a customer. How does our client's customer want to be treated?
Right.
And so that's a much deeper level. Whereas typically in a courier fulfillment, get the package out, it's slinging packages, whether it's in the courier business or the fulfillment business. Whereas we see it much a deeper approach, a more principled approach. If we take care of the end recipient of that delivery, then we're in effect taking care of our client on a much deeper level. But again, when you're looking for a courier business or fulfillment business, that process, you never think about that. And that's what it comes back to, is driving that value and that relationship, And that's why we get to price versus value. In this economy, people are not emotionally attached to having a better price. They're emotionally attached to having good service for the money that they do pay.
And the bottom line is you want to impact the bottom line, not the top line.
That's right.
Right. And
right.
That's where the profit of the business can be impacted by all those touch points that you're talking about.
And I think finally, as a business owner, I don't get passionate about running a business that doesn't make profit. I get passionate about serving the customer, and if I can be profitable at the same time, that's what drives my economic engine. If I'm passionate about it, I'm good at what I do, and I'm profitable. It's from the good to great.
Right.
That makes a successful company, and that's taken me a long time to really understand that.
Excellent.
So,
well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking a few moments to share your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me.
Right.